good night. Good night, everyone doing. God is good and God is good all the time. I'm going to talk about these abortion pill, Mifepristone. United States Supreme Court Justice, Samuel Black Law Court ruling that imposed a tightened restriction on access to the abortion pill. So the court ruling is on hold right now. It's on hold right now. And the United States District Judge, Matt issued a sweeping order against these pills. So this pill had been approved by FDA. And the FDA first approved this pill in 2000. And approved it genetic version also. So it's been 23 years, since they've been using this pill, and they've been using for like 23 years right now. It's a drug that is needed for pregnancy, to continue. That this pill that women have been using for 23 years, a long time. And so I request that this pill, Mifepristone, stay on the market for women to use. And I request for this pill to be taken off hold. FDA had approved, so let all women continue on using this pill. So that's what they've been talking about, this abortion pill. This abortion pill is what women use, when they pregnant. They've been using it for quite a while. Pregnant to continue. This pill for women have been using. So I have request for this pill stay on the market. I request that this pill get off a hold. So still be in place for these women to use. FDA has approved these pills, 23 years ago. So they approved this pill. It should stay on the market for use. Because if they approve it, that means it's good. So that's on the news right there, and we're gonna talk about Naomi loses her husband and her sons. Now that can be a heartbreaking thing, but this gonna be a story that God gonna use Naomi and Ruth. They had so many losses. When we gonna see how strong they gonna be. We're gonna see how they gonna handle this loss. Because a lot of things happen, and sometimes it don't be a coincidence. God is using these two women here to see how they handle these situations. So we're gonna be talking about Ruth. Ruth is a short book. I think it's have like 4 chapters. So in the days when the judges had ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem, in Judah, together with his wife and his 2 sons, so they went to live, for a while in the country of Moab. So she have a full family right now. She have her husband, she have her 2 kids. That's a full household right there. So they got family in their land. They live in Bethlehem. Jesus gonna be born in Bethlehem. David gonna be born in Bethlehem. So that gonna be pretty much a promised land right there. So that's what they live right now, but they have family in the land and they're gonna leave to go to Moab. So this time, a judges was the Israelite. Israelite gonna still be hanging around for about 1,000 years, and God still gonna be right there by him. So this is the time with the Israelite. They have no leader, so they're doing whatever they want to do right now. So the story of Ruth, take place sometime, during the period of the rule of the judges. Because they're right after Justice. We just did all the stories out of there. So now these was the dog days for Israel. These are the dog days for Israel because they don't have no God. God's still watching over behind the scene, but they don't have no leader. So they just doing whatever they want to do right now. So when everyone did as he saw fit, but during those dark times, evil time, there was still some who followed God. Now all the Israelites was not bad. You know, when you had the rest of them did whatever they wanted to do, serving and bow down to other gods, they still had some, was following God. They had some still was praying to God. You're not gonna have all bad seed. You're still gonna have some good seed. So the good seed is still praying to God, still being connected with God, still following, letting God lead them, but then you have the rest of them fell off the wagon. So Naomi and Ruth, they're a beautiful example. And that's why I say God is using these people as an example. Sometimes God will use somebody for an example for the whole world to see how God does things. How God can take you from this and bring you up to here. And so it's all part of God's plan for that family to be in that land, for them to leave that land, and then they have to go there. The same thing Abraham and his offspring had to do. God had told him, this land that you in, told that to Jacob, you're going to have to leave this land. But then I'm going to rescue your offspring and bring them back to this land. So that's what they're going to have to do. They got family in their land. They're going to have to leave their land, go to Moab. So Naomi gonna hear they got food back in their land, and she gonna go back to her hometown. So Naomi and Ruth are beautiful example of loyalty, friendship, and commitment to God. A commitment to God. And God used certain people to set example to the whole world to see how He can work things into people. And to each other. So we will see how God will take Ruth, from nothing and turn her life around. So the family in the land, they lost their loved one. Ruth and Naomi was in dark time, but they followed God and let God guide them. So sometimes, you be in that dark place, but nothing is going right. Everything falling apart. You lose this one. You lose that. You lose, everything is falling apart. What do? Will you just stay in the corner and moan, or you will still be connected with God? So we're gonna see how these two ladies gonna handle the situation. They both in their heart feel the same thing. They both gonna have losses, so they both understand each other. So and you think that you will never be happy again. Sometimes, I'm in that stage right now. Sometimes, you've been in a storm for a long time. You've been in all kind of stuff going on. And you think you're never gonna be happy again. But we're gonna see the story of Naomi and Ruth. Their heart is broken, but they will find happiness again. So happiness, but with God, anything is possible. Because he gonna be working behind the scene. All the while, this is a purpose, this is a plan for Naomi and Ruth. So the man name was Elimelech. His white name was Naomi, and the names of the two sons were Mahlon and Kilion. As they left from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab to live there. Family in their land, so they're going to Moab. They're going wherever they got food at. So the man named Elimelech, his wife Naomi, two sons, but we will see the two sons, they all left, to go live in Moab. And so Ruth and her sister's not in the picture right now. So the family was living in Bethlehem. They left due to the famine in the land, and they moved to Moab. Moab was a land, east of the Dead Sea, and it was one of the nation that oppressed the Israel. So during this period of judges, so there will be tension between the two nations. So even if Israel had already defeated Moab, there still would have been tension between them. So they're talking about fighting somebody, no, they ain't got God right now on this side. So they need to just stay low. So now the two sons, the husband would die, and she would be left alone with her two sons. So during the hard time, where she had to move from city, and moved to Moab to be with her family, but then her husband had died and now she left with her two sons. So she had a whole family. And this is a critical time, and that's what the devil do. The devil will tear you down in your dog time. They already don't have food. They have famine in their land. So the family trying to get together and leave to go to Moab, and then in the process of doing that, her husband died. She left with her two sons to help take care of her in her old age since her husband is gone. So now it's her two sons traveling, to Moab, and now it's Naomi and her two sons. So now they married. They in Moab, and so they find the two women, and so they had married a Moab woman, Oprah and Ruth. So they lived in the land for 10 years. They lived there 10 years. That's just how long. They had no food in their city. So Naomi lost her husband, and she had two sons to take care of her in her old age. But now, both her two sons also died, and Naomi was left without her two sons and her husband. Now she got to try to figure out how she gonna do this here, how she gonna survive. Bad enough we left because they ain't had no food, no family, no nothing in the land. Now she got to be traveling here and there by herself. She left her hometown with a full family. But now all her family just dropped, and it just her, and her two daughters, remember they went to Mobile, they found the two women, and they married those two women. Now Naomi had lost her husband, she had her sons to take care of her, but now both of the sons also had died. Naomi was left with just her two daughters-in-law. So the Moabites, they live outside of the promised land. Marrying two Canaanites, the Moabites they were not allowed to worship at the tabernacle. But I don't know where he met them at, but they weren't supposed to meet up together because they had not let the Israelites pass through their land during the time of Egypt. So as God had chosen this nation, Israel should have set the standards of how Moses was living for other nations. You remember God had rules for that. Different ones. They weren't supposed to let them come in that land. They weren't supposed to let them come in that land. So it was Ruth, a Moabite, said when God was used as an example of a genuine spiritual character. Now this showed just how blunt life can become Israel during those days. Now God about to use them as an example. He about to use them as an example. They done lost. She done lost both her husband. Ruth done lost both of the sisters and lost their husband. And then but see, Naomi, she not only just lost her husband, she lost two sons also. So Naomi will also be example that God will use how she handled of losing her husband and two sons. And she will be a strong woman and she will leave and start a new life. So Ruth, God will use her also. She will follow Naomi also and will be guided by God because she gonna wants to know her God. And she gonna get mad, with God because she gonna feel like God had left her alone. Took her husband and the two sons, but we gonna see that Ruth gonna have a different mindset on losing. She ready, to start a new life. So we go so I'm gonna talk about. We still talking about Ruth. So this is part 2. Now Naomi had lost everything. Only her two daughter-in-laws that she had. So now Naomi heard. Now she heard that they got food. On the Moabites that the Lord had come to the aid of helping people in her time. Providing food for them. So she heard. So she ready to go back home. She ready. She done lost her husband, her two sons. She hearing they got food in her town, so she ready to go back home. For them. So she and her daughter-in-law, they prepared to return home there. So Naomi, she heard that they got food in the land, and prepared to return back to Bethlehem. So she left the place where she had been living and set out on a road, to go back home. So Naomi had told her two daughters-in-law, look, I'm going back to my hometown. I heard they got food there. So I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I need y'all to go back home. Y'all need y'all to stay here. That's what they're from. They're mobilized women. So I need y'all to just stay here in your own town with your own mother. So Naomi had told them, I need y'all to stay here. I'm about to go back to my hometown. So God give you rest, in a home of another husband. So she tell them, y'all stay here in your hometown. God gonna allow y'all to find y'all some more husband. So there was also nothing worse than being a widow in an essence where a widow was taken advantage of, ignoring that God had therefore provided that a relative. So what the law was, when a woman's husband died, you know, they're not supposed to be a widow for so long. A relative is supposed to step in, and provide for that woman. But she said she don't have no relatives in where she was at in Moab. She don't have none there. But when she go back to home, she have plenty there. Relative of her husband. Now they should take care for the widow. But Naomi have no relative in Moab, and she did not know if any in her relative was alive in Israel. So she didn't know if anybody was alive. So even in Naomi desperate, situation, she had to decide now. She in a desperate situation. Now she hear they got food in her hometown. Should she bring her daughter-in-law with her? Or let them, stay here, just like she told me. She had to hurry up and make a decision, what she had to do. And her decision, she bitter right now. When you in that state of mind, you lost stuff and you this and that going on. Sometimes you want to be alone. She didn't want her daughter-in-law coming with her. Cause when she get to her hometown, she gonna let them know how bitter she is. She bitter, she hurt, and she mad with God. And so she didn't want nobody probing around her. So she had to make a decision. So they come with her or let them stay here. So she sent her daughter-in-law home, and she had to decide to return, to Israel, and she wanted them to start their life over, and find a new husband here in their own town. So Naomi should considerated the needs of others and not just her own. Now she did have consideration of them, finding them another husband. She ain't get mad, that's her daughter-in-law. Some people like, no, I need you to follow me because I don't want you to get involved with another man and all that. She wasn't like that. She had consideration that y'all stay here. Let God find y'all some more husband, and live life and just start all over again. Because I'm at that age, I'm old. I can't produce no more baby for y'all. And if I do, what you gonna sit around and wait until they grow up? So that's a decision she had to make. And then the sister Oprah, she kissed her and said goodbye. And she wept out loud. And when she said to her, we will go back with you to your people. But Naomi had said, return home, my daughters. Why will you come with me? I am going to have, any more sons. She said, I'm not going to have any more sons. Now, who could become your husband? Return home. I am too old to have any husband. Even if I thought there was still hope. See, she don't have no more hope no more. If they have any hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight, and give birth to sons, will you still wait until they get grown? Now she's saying if I do have children, they're already grown. For her to have children, they'll be real old waiting for the babies to grow up as men for them to marry. Because that's why she told them, she said, y'all stay here and allow God to find y'all new husbands. So she said she was until they get grown. So will you remain unmarried? No, that was she saying. For you to wait on for my two sons to get grown, will you stay unmarried? Why they trying to get grown? Because they're gonna be babies and have to get grown for you to marry them when you already grown. So she asking them these questions. You know, no, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you because the Lord had turned against me. So she's saying God turned against her. She, that's the time she's not supposed to get married with God. She's supposed to be praying to God to give her strength to move on. So now since Naomi lost her husband and her two sons, she think God is against her. You know, she think God is against her. And Naomi is going back to her hometown. And she told her two daughter-in-laws to go back. So at this time they weep out loud. They weep out loud. So the one of the sisters, she kissed her, you know, and she said goodbye. But Ruth clinged on to her. She refused to leave. So Naomi said, look, your sister-in-law is going back home with her people. So it's time for you to do the same thing. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or turn back, from you. Where you go, she said, where you go, she loved her mother-in-law. She done lost her son, her husband. So all she have is her mother-in-law to have the feeling of her husband still there. She could have went back to her mother, but being clinging to Naomi, she'll feel the presence of her husband. So she said, I'll go wherever you go. Wherever you stay, I'll stay. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. Now she loved her mother-in-law, and she telling her, I'm not going nowhere. Wherever you go, I'm gone. So Ruth was a Moabite, but that didn't stop her, from worshiping the true God. She was a Moabite, but it didn't stop her from praising God. So no matter what race you are, what religion you are, there's only one true God that we're supposed to pray to, regardless of your religion. She was a Moabite. Wasn't even supposed to be in that land. But she still had praise and worship God. And God don't turn nobody away who wants to worship Him, and bow down to Him. So worshiping the true God, did it stop God from accepting her, worshiping and blessing her greatly. So that's when God realized, I got a plan for you. So God already had a plan for her. But then she started worshiping God. So God about to use both of these women in a way, pretty much Ruth. God feel the pain of Naomi, but He gonna use Ruth. He gonna bless. That's what He said here. He accept her worship and blessing her greatly. So that's what God said. She was already in His plan. But by she started coming, being connected with Him, praying and communicating with Him, He said, I accept your worship and I'm going to bless you greatly. So He going to use Ruth to bless Ruth, so Ruth can bless her mother-in-law, because the plan that God have, Naomi in that little age now, so He able to use Ruth, and allow her to meet this rich man. That's why He said, I'm about to bless you greatly. And God accept all who worship Him. It doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what religion you are. Anybody being connected wants to come get connected with God and worship God, He accept everyone. So where you die, so this Ruth still talking to her mother, where you die, I will die. And there will I be buried, and may the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separate you and me. She said, we're going to be together until death separate us. That's a person that really loved her mother-in-law, because they had their husband, and probably even had their husband that long, and they died. Now, we see Naomi is still mourning over her husband and two sons. So she got it hard. Anybody be bitter and have it hard because she lost her husband and two sons. So I guess she wanted to be alone. She bitter. She broken. Her heart is broken. She not only lost one, but she lost her husband and two sons. So now we see the reason why she probably didn't want Ruth and the sisters to come with her, because she bitter, she broken. And she probably just wanted to be left alone and by herself so she can deal with it. But sometimes it's not good to be alone sometimes when you're that broken. And good thing Ruth did find along with her. You know. So when Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her, because she kept on coming with ideas, and you need to go. I'm not going to have no more children. I'm not going to even have. She lost all hope. She lost all hope because she was married with God. She felt like God came against her and took her family away from her, because she left her hometown with a whole family. Now she's going back to her hometown empty-handed. So they went on, until they came to Bethlehem. And when they arrived there, the whole town was stirred up because of them. And then one of the women, they had claimed, can I be her? Because she looked kind of different. Looked kind of different. And then I guess they're trying to see what her husband and her children there. Can I be Naomi? They ain't saw her in 10 years. So they're trying to figure out, is that really her? So the whole town was stirred up because of them, because she coming there with a whole nother pretty woman along with her. So they're trying to figure out, she got a pretty woman, with her, but what is her husband and her two children? So and the women claim, can that be Naomi? So now Naomi back in her hometown with no husband, no sons, and came home empty-handed when she left with a full family. The whole town was stirred up. They had to keep looking, is that's her. So now Naomi is married with God, and she told them, stop calling me Naomi. She is so angry right now. She like, why is y'all calling me Naomi? She said, don't call me Naomi no more. So she said, call me Mara. Because the Almighty had made her life very bitter. And I guess that's why she didn't want her daughter-in-law to follow her, because she said she is so bitter and hurt. Naomi said she went away full with husband and two sons, but the Lord had brought her back empty-handed. You're not going to be empty-handed for too long. So why call me Naomi? The Lord had afflicted me, and the Almighty had brought misfortune upon me. So this is a time we have to still pray to God. We're going to be mad at that moment. We're going to be mad at the moment, but that's the time, we have to still be connected with God. We have to pray to God to give us strength, for we can get through it. That's what she should be doing. God, give me strength. Now when I lost my husband, but two sons, God, give me strength. Give me strength to keep on going. That's what she had to do. She can't be bitter and mad with God. She got to be connected with God to get through this. So Naomi had experienced, severe hardship. She had left Israel and married and secure, but now Naomi returned widow and poor, and Naomi changed her name to express the bitterness. That's what that name means. Expressing her bitterness and her pain that she felt at the moment. She had to change her name. I don't even want y'all calling me Naomi no more. Why is you calling me that? So Naomi was not rejected, God by openly expressing her pain. However, she seemed to have lost sight of tremendous resource that she had in her relationship with Ruth and with God. Naomi allowed her bitterness to disappoint to blind her relationship with God. And see, that's what I was saying. You could be in so much pain, so much bitterness, so much brokenness, but through all that pain and brokenness, you can't get disconnected with God. She got disconnected with God, because she got so blind, of everything that she went through. All the losses, the disappointment, it blind her relationship with God. Naomi returned, from Moab, accompanied by Ruth, the Moabites, and her daughter-in-law. Arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. So when they got back to Bethlehem, the harvest was just not booming. Remember they had famine in the land. They've been gone for like 10 years. So now they came back. The harvest is just not booming up. So they got there just in time. Sebastian was about 5 miles southwest of Jerusalem, and the town was surrounded by the field and olive grove. Its harvest were abundance. So they got there just in time. The harvest just started blowing up. So Ruth and the army returned to Bethlehem, and that was certainly part of God's plan. Certain part of God's plan. And because in this time David was they were gonna be born in this time. Jesus gonna be born in that time, Bethlehem. Jesus and David. You know, gonna be born in that time. So this move led the fulfillment of the scripture. So this is part of God's plan. Her husband and 2 sons didn't die by accident. So this move was led, to fulfill the scriptures. It was God's plan. So now we're gonna talk about the death to new life. And that's the story of Ruth and Naomi. Death to new life. Because God will give you new things, a new life. So that's what they're experiencing right now. That's why I say God using these two women as an example. How they gonna handle this situation, how God gonna get them through it. So they coming back home poor. They say coming back poor, empty-handed. They're a widow. Nothing going on right now. She lost all hope and everything. So Ruth faces hard time when her husband died. Now her mother-in-law, Naomi, had decided to return to her hometown. So when Naomi urged Ruth and her the sister-in-law, to stay in Moab, chose to stay home, stay in her own city and with her own people and her own God. So, but Ruth chose to follow her mother-in-law to the land of Judah, to the unfamiliar land. Now she leaving her town to come follow her mother-in-law, a town that she never been to before. So Ruth followed along with Naomi, a new journey and a new hope. Remember, Naomi have no hope. She didn't have no hope, but Ruth have hope. Ruth ready to start a new life. Naomi just bitter right now. She don't have no hope. She just don't have anything. So new hope. To me, a new husband. Now this Ruth. She ready for a new hope, new life, new husband, and start a new life. Now her story illustrates faith. That's just what God doing. God stirring things up. He used them as an example. How you go through it and how you have faith and how you gonna come through it. God can take you to it and He'll take you through it. So sometimes new life can come from a tragedy of death. Ruth and her mother-in-law experienced that. Their spouses, they both had lost. So they both know how each other feel. They both lost spouses. So leaving emptiness in our heart. They both experienced that. Aching for their present. But what do you do in the face of that? What do you do? Do we go on? Or do we blame God? So what we gonna do? We gonna go on, and we gonna pray, and we're not gonna blame God. And so too, Naomi did. She was willing to move and go back to her hometown, but she blamed God and she was bitter. But too, we see the sister-in-law. She stayed behind doing nothing. She didn't have no hope of trying to pursue another life. She wanted to stay home and it could continue on being the person she was before she even met her husband, Naomi's son. No 3. Ruth was willing to move into a new story, a new direction, a new life, new hope. Ruth was ready. She was open, for a new life, and for faith promise. new life. If you got faith, you know, you can move on and have that new life. You know, but if you like Naomi and you just broken, you're gonna be broken when you lose someone, you know, but you got to still, and just like me in my stomach, you know, broken and this and that, but I still have hope. I still have faith. No matter what you go through, you got to still have faith. And the main thing, you got to trust God. You got to trust God. God can take you to it. You got to trust God. I'm talking to myself too. We got to trust God that He's going to take us through it. He's going to take us to it and He's going to take us through it. But we have to stay connected with God. We got to pray in that whole time. That's the time you really got to be praying in that whole time. Naomi stopped praying because she blamed God. So faith and hope. You have it's a promises. That you done lost some, but you got faith and hope that you're gonna climb right back up. So life may look different. Than you expected. Rest in the knowledge. That God used every circumstance. To strengthen. Your faith in Him. You know, I'm a living witness. I'm 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 a living witness. I done come a long way. How I was dealing with this stone. I'm not 100%. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting through it. So when you think that life, as it is over, sometimes you in that hard time. Naomi was in that hard time. She done lost hope. She done blamed God, and she think it's just over for her. She telling her daughter, I'm not gonna have. She was angry. I'm not gonna have no more children. So y'all just stay here. I'm not gonna produce no more. She lost all hope in life. She lost everything. All I want to do is just go back to my own hometown. Let me go back to my house. Just let me be the person I was before. So when you think life is as you knew, it is over. Remember the one who said, I am making everything new. And God will keep on saying that song. God will keep saying that song. You can lose everything, but God said, I'm making everything new. He gonna bless Ruth for Naomi. He really is concerned about Naomi. The blessing supposed to be for Naomi, but how is she gonna get the blessing, Naomi, in her age? So you got pretty Ruth. So they're gonna use Ruth to get that blessing, to take care of Naomi. God know Ruth love her mother-in-law. So God know if I bless Ruth, definitely she gonna take care of her mother-in-law. So we still gonna be talking about Ruth. It don't have like 4 chapters. So we're gonna be talking about Ruth. That's all I have for you right now in the story. But Ruth is a beautiful story. Because they went back home poor and broke. Went back empty-handed. Don't have anything going. And she got so angry when she changed her name. And Ruth, she determined to follow, her mother-in-law. She said, I'm going to go where you go. I'm going to die where you go. I want, your God going to be my God. Your people going to be my people. Now, that was a woman determined to go among them. And it was a blessing because that was all part of God's plan. So we also had to talk about the abortion pill. The abortion pill had been around for 23 years. 23 years. This pill is a drug that needed for pregnancy to continue. And this pill that women have been taking for 23 years. And it was approved by FDA. So if FDA approved it, so this pill is good. I don't know why they want to take something off the market that FDA had approved of. So I requested this pill, stay on the market for women to continue on using. And I request for this pill to take off a hold, so it can stay on the market. FDA had approved this pill, so let all women, continue on using this pill. And so I also talk about the first chapter of Naomi and Ruth. This was the first part of when Naomi's husband had died. You know, they went to Moab because they had feminine land. Went to Moab, and the two sons found these two Moab's women. And then all of a sudden, the two sons died. So it was just left with her and her mother and her two daughters-in-law. She was so bitter that she blamed God, and she wanted her daughter-in-law to stay here with their people and their own mother. But we see that Ruth refused, and she claimed to her mother-in-law. And so this story is very interesting. Interesting. So we're gonna continue on reading the book of Ruth. It's in number like 4 chapters. So that's all the word and the news I have for you tonight, and I'll see y'all on the next video.